Hello, welcome to Generative AI Lab 86289, Analyzing Cost Drivers Using Regression Analysis. In this lab, we will be performing an analysis examining how different production activities drive overhead costs within a manufacturing environment, these activities being machine hours, setups, and purchase orders. So, to start off, we're going to start a new chat, as you can see right here. And then we will upload a screenshot of our Excel file. You can, if you want, just upload the Excel file. In general, I just personally prefer doing the screenshot as I find it to be a bit less buggy and just a bit easier in general. So alongside our screenshot, we will be asking it to perform two regression analysis on this data. First using only machine hours as the independent variable, then using machine hours, number of setups, and number of purchase orders as the independent variable. So we'll put that in and wait for it to spit it out for us. So essentially we're trying to figure out what is the correlation between each of these three cost drivers to the overhead cost. We're specifically comparing only machine hours to all three of these in general and how much they drive these overhead costs. So as you can see here, the first regression is just the overhead cost. And as we can see, the R squared essentially tells us that it only represents about 40.6% of the variation in overhead costs, which is not great. You want to be as close to 1 as possible, and this shows us that it's kind of unreliable just to rely on the machine hours as a explanation. However, our regression 2 actually does a much better job when using all three of these cost drivers, as it explains 98.2% of the variation in overhead, which is much better. This is something we can definitely work off of, which we will. So now that spit that out, we're going to plot a bar graph comparing the R squared of both regressions, just so we can see it, a visual kind of thing, just to understand how much of a difference these kind of explain the overhead. So as you can see here, a bar graph kind of puts in perspective how much more these three kind of explain the variation in overhead costs compared to just the machine hours. Really big difference. So really good stuff. It tells us that. Now we're going to run another regression, this time only using the setups and purchasing orders alongside plotting the R squared value alongside the other two regressions. So the reason why we're doing this is we're kind of wondering, well, okay, we get it that the machine hours, setups, and purchasing orders are much better than just the machine hours. But what if we separate the setups and purchasing orders by themselves in general, separate from the machine hours? Will that maybe explain it better? Is machine hours really needed? So that will tell us some interesting things. So we'll wait for it to spit out the data here. We're also going to try and make each bar have different colors because this is a bit boring. So there we go, much easier on the eyes right there. So as we can see here, the third regression is basically the same as the second one. Explains honestly a bit more of the data. So I mean, there you could use just setups and purchasing orders, or you can use all three. It doesn't seem to have much of a difference, as you can probably see. So now that we have that, we're going to ask it to explain the relationship between overhead costs, machine hours, number of setups, and number of purchase orders, just to give us a little bit of a nice summary of all the data it just gave us. So as you can see, we're going to see a lot of stuff here. It's going to go into depth about each data. Gives us a nice little conclusion. Yep. And Now we're going to output the second bar graph um, into a PNG file. This will do us, this is really easy for it to do. As you can see, very nicely do this for us so we don't have to do it. Could be a bit annoying maybe, doing it on your own. Having chat do it will speed up the process greatly. So it'll take a second. Ooh, didn't give us the colors, but whatever. At the end of the day, it does give us the graphs. So we can download that when we need it, and then output our prompts into a Word file to end the assignment. So we'll ask it to do that. And then that's about it for the lab today. As you can see, just a quick recap. We took we compared the machine hours and the number of steps and number of purchase orders to see kind of which ones better explained, better explained the variation in overhead costs. And we took many different variations of that. We graphed it visually, and then gave us a nice little summary at the end. So yeah, that's it for Lab 86289.